Hello there guys, Davinator right here, and today I got another book review for you. Now, before I get into the actual book review or the plot synopsis, let me just say I made a video a little while back. It's just a short little 4-minute video called Don't Read Dan Simmons' The Abominable. I believe that's the title. And, okay, yeah, I probably just seem like I'm doing a plug for my other video. Okay, I'm not trying to make an advertisement right now. But, anyways, now, Dan Simmons wrote a novel called The Terror. And The Terror is the first book that... the second book that I ever reviewed on the channel. And I believe it's the first video that I ever made that was the vlog-style video to where I show my face. And, I love The Terror. It's one of the best novels I've ever read. It's just a terrific novel. Everyone should read that novel. It's just amazing. It really is. But if you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can check out my other video, or don't, whatever you want. And then I read The Abominable, which is a spiritual successor to The Terror in many ways. And it sucked. Really sucked. Really bad. One of the few novels I've ever read that I just stopped reading because I was like, you know what? Can't take it anymore. Can't take it anymore. And that's why it wasn't actually a straight up review of The Abominable. I read like 85% of the book. I was almost done, but I only had like 100 pages left, but I was like, I can't do it. It's just, it hurts. It sucked. I don't know what he was thinking. I was just like, oh my gosh. Don't tell me The Terror is Dan Simmons' only book. No, that can't be. That can't be. No. He's written several of them. Please, don't let that be the only one. Luckily, it wasn't. I got Summer of Night. This book is so good. It's not as good as The Terror. I'll just say that. But that's like saying that... Okay, I didn't even think of an analogy. It'd be dumb to make that comparison. This is just an incredible novel. It really is a great book. Now, it's a horror novel set in a small town. Now, it's set in a small town in Illinois. And it's about this group of kids, and they're in the middle of summer vacation, and they start, Summer of Night, you probably guessed that said in the summer, but anyway, and it takes place in 1960, and they start to realize that things are going wrong in their town. There's, just weird things are happening, people are going missing, and overall it's just strange occurrences are happening all around, and they start to realize that maybe something that may or may not be supernatural is going on, and they might have to fight an ancient evil force. That's all I'll say. And yeah, you get just a great novel. Now, here's the thing. The best novel that I can compare this to is To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, To Kill a Mockingbird, if you've never read it, you might just have an opinion of it in your mind, like, oh, this is one of those dumb classic movies made into it's made into a black and white movie in 1960s. It's probably boring. It's probably terrible. No, To Kill a Mockingbird, I was genuinely surprised. I didn't really want to read it. I just had to read it from school a while back. But when I read it, I was like, dang, this is really good. It's really entertaining. It holds up so well. I understand why it's a classic. To Kill a Mockingbird is a great book. And the reason I compare this book to Kill a Mockingbird, it's actually significantly longer than To Kill a Mockingbird, but the reason I compare it to it is because a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird is just kids hanging out, having fun in the summer. However, it's not boring. It's not lame, because just like the little misadventures they get into, it's not like, major exciting stuff. They're not fighting demons or monsters. There's nothing supernatural, and there's not really action in To Kill a Mockingbird. It's just, a lot of the book, they're just hanging out, but it's so well written, and the characters are so great, and just this description of the setting is just very interesting that it keeps you interested, and it makes you feel like they're going along with them, and, it provides a lot of nostalgia. It's just the characters are great, and they make it work. And that's how this novel feels for a good 200 to 300, I would say about the first 300 pages. With exceptions, there are exciting scenes. There are scenes to where, stuff hits the fan, creepy stuff starts happening, scary stuff starts happening, because this is a scary book. But for the most part, it's just kids hanging out, talking, having great times, making a whole lot of nostalgic memories, and it's just, it really, I'm still a kid, obviously. Look at me, I'm obviously still a kid, but, I'm getting a little bit older, not going to be too long until I have to move out of the house, but, yeah, gave me a little bit of nostalgia for when I was, 10, 11, hanging out, going around the neighborhood with my friends, and just, it really hit me right there. It's just, and the characters are great. All of the characters are just really well written, especially this kid named Dwayne. He's just, Oh man, like I don't know, maybe some people would read the book and be like, oh, pfft, kids aren't that smart. No, I've known people that were about as smart as Dwayne. Like, there's a dumb misconception that like children are just like know nothing. They're idiots. They're mindless, just robots. Until you hit like age 30, you just basically have no brain. No, that's stupid. Obviously, yeah, like, and I'm saying this self-conscious of the fact that I don't know much about life. You know, I don't have a job. You know, I haven't had to work yet. You know, I don't know much about the facts of life and what I'll have to deal with later on. So I'm not ignorant to that. I know I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm ignorant to the ways of the world, and kids are too. That's just how it works for the most part. You know, unless you're in just a bad environment. But still, like that doesn't mean kids are idiots. Like I mean, you know. But anyways, sorry, I was starting to go into a weird rant right there. Anyways, the point is, Dwayne, he's just so well written. He's very funny. He's smart. He's clever. Like he's really smart, and just like his little inner monologues and dialogues with himself, and just the things he thinks about is just like, man, I like pretty much every kid in this book have been like, yeah, I know a kid like that, or a couple kids just like that, and just the characters, they're very well realized, and the adults are too. Like you know, some of the kids' parents, they're interesting, and also this book, it really does tug at your heartstrings at times. But anyway, so I said that's you know the first 350 or so pages. You know, like with exceptions because there are exciting and scary scenes mixed in there, and overall it's never boring throughout that portion. Don't think that I'm saying it's boring. No, it's never boring. It's very interesting, and that's you know, part of the just great thing about it. Like you know, it's just a bunch of kids hanging out, but it's fun. It makes you feel like you're there with them, just like To Kill a Mockingbird did. But then when stuff really starts to happen, and you know, creepy stuff starts happening, it's like, what's going on? And just like stuff. I won't give any spoilers to what the villain or villains are, but really effective. And this is a scary book. There are very intense scenes, and the last 100 pages are just really exciting. And again, like some of the stuff that the kids do, like I can understand if some people were like, oh, pff, kids would never do that. Like kids don't know how to use weapons and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like the kids go commando. It's not like they take M60s and start blowing up crap. No, it's not like that. Like there's action and excitement, and the kids do cool stuff, and it's you know it's really good and well written, and it's scary and intense. But it has a layer of realism to it. It feels real. You know, it feels like bang. You know, if these types of things do exist in the world, these supernatural or not supernatural occurrences do happen in the world, then yeah, maybe this type of stuff could actually happen. You know, maybe these kids could be driven to do this thing, and yeah, it's just the point is just the last 100 pages are just so exciting, so well written, and still emotional. The characters are great. It's intense. It's suspenseful. Chills went down my spine, and the last 50 pages, I was just gripping the book. I was like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And it's just terrific book. It's so well written in every way, and just. I didn't even talk about Dan Simmons. Dan Simmons' style of writing, I just love. Just he does a terrific job of describing the setting, and he definitely did a great job in The Terror, but he arguably does as good, if not an even better job in this book. You really get a feel for the town in this book. You just, like, by the end of this book, you know where every nook and cranny is in this town. Like, you can see the town when you close your eyes, and it's just, and overall, just from the first page, you just get an atmosphere of terror and dread from this book. The terror. But anyways, just dread that's just creeping up. It's like, okay, slow stuff is happening now. Like, it's slow paced. It's not boring, but it's slow paced throughout these first 300 pages. But I know stuff is gonna happen. Stuff has happened, but it's really gonna happen. And then you get the climax of the book, and it really pays off. And yeah, it's just. And the villain or villains are just very well realized, very creepy, and they're in the book just the right amount. They're not oversaturated where when they show up, it's just like, oh, okay, just them again. Or that guy again. You know, it doesn't feel repetitive. No, it's just they're in the book the exact right amount, and they're just very creepy. And overall, I can't give this book any other rating than an A+. This is just, oh man. If I didn't talk about enough things, if I didn't explain it too much, it's just because I'm trying not to give too much away. But really, if you ever find this in a store, any store, just please, just pick it up. it's a lengthy book. This copy is 555 pages long. I mean, it's a lengthy book, but it's just so good. And I loved it. And like, don't look up anything about it. Just read the book and let it surprise you. And when certain reveals happen, it's just all the more surprising. And there are parts in this book to where I literally went, like, things happened that I really did not expect. I was just like, why'd you do that, Dan Simmons? But anyways, yeah, it's just, it's a great book. And yeah, the scares are unique. Like, stuff happens that I would not have thought quite so outside the box with the things that happen, especially towards the end of the book. And it's just great. I love this book. And again, like, here's the thing. I could understand if you read this book and think like, oh, dude, what were you talking about? The book's so slow and boring. Same with To Kill a Mockingbird. I get if people are like, oh, it's boring. It's just courtrooms, kids hanging out in the summer, and there's only like one scene at the end where someone gets like hurt, and it's boring. Okay, look, I get it, but for my money, by my standards, it's just so well written, and it's never boring. It's great, and funny thing is, there was a brief moment in this book, like, I was reading, like, the first 300 pages, I was just like, man, like, how is this book not boring me? It's just so well written. And then there was a brief moment where I was like, okay, maybe this slow section is starting to drag on a little bit too, bam! Stuff hits the fan, then creepy stuff just starts happening. It, like, really starts happening, and it just pays off. I was like, oh, never mind. Just book's awesome again. And yeah, this is an A+ novel, if there ever was one. I can't say that it's as good as The Terror, but that's like saying, like, my 20th favorite movie of all time is not as good as my 5th favorite movie of all time. No, it's not, but, I mean, come on, both are great. And yeah, this is just one of the best horror novels I've probably ever read. Also, what do you think? There's like a 100-word paragraph from Stephen King singing this book's praises. If you want to get your book sold, have Stephen King write an entire paragraph for the back of your book and be like, yeah, buy this book, it's awesome. You probably get some books sold. You probably get some copies of your book sold. But anyways, so yeah, overall, just a terrific book. And yeah, oh, I forgot to do a gore rating for my last book review, Intro to Alien Invasion. Real quick, the gore rating for that, I give it a very bloody 6 out of 7. And the gore rating for this, 5 out of 7. Yeah, it's a pretty bloody book. Anyway, yeah, I know the gore ratings are just completely unnecessary. I talked about that in my gore ratings video, but whatever. I just feel like including it because I'm weird like that. Anyways, this review's going on a little bit too long here. I understand that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, even if it got way too rambly and ranty at times. If you like this, please rate and comment and subscribe. And if you want to, you can also share. Goodbye.